What's up, YouTube? It's your boy DC back with another Discussions video. This is the 6th episode, and this time I asked you guys, what got you into EDM? Why do you prefer it over other genres? And who are your favorite artists? And yeah, I got 24 responses, so thank you guys for participating once again. And I will say that a lot of these comments were very long, so I don't want this video to take forever. I just chose 10 of them to discuss today. Sorry if you weren't included, but for those of you watching, you can always go back to this post and read the comments if you're interested, if you haven't seen them yet. But yeah, we're just going to go here in no particular order, really. I am going to start with a Geometry Dash comment because there were a lot of those. The first one by Ultra Sean quickly states, not going to sugarcoat it, I got into EDM mainly because of Geometry Dash when I was around 10 to 11. But then the longer comment about it is from Dino that says, I think a big starting point in my love for EDM really started from Geometry Dash. I've always really loved the soundtrack back in the old days when the hardest main level was Club Step. When Meltdown dropped, I loved the heck out of that game. However, I never branched out from what I heard. My love for EDM really started back in 2017 when my dad found Bass Nectar. He showed me a song called Interlock and I fell in love. I would always annoy my mom and grandma by blasting songs like Basshead, Koza, Frenzy, the aforementioned Interlock, Ping Pong, Loco Ano, the list goes on. Then I found Dubstep Gutter and I went more underground each passing year. I feel like EDM is such an amazing genre because it keeps pushing the limits of its own sound. There are hundreds of genres in this one style of music, and that is amazing to me. My realm stays in dubstep because of my Bass Nectar story. It's pretty much where I started. My favorite artists would have to be Sharks, Virtual Riot, Skrillex, Infect, and Joab. So yeah, that's a lot to unpack there. First of all, the Geometry Dash comment. And when Ultra Sean said he started back when he was 10 to 11, I feel like I was right around that age when Geometry Dash came out, and I played it for a little bit. I never really got into it that much. And then you mentioned how Meltdown, the second Geometry Dash game, and the songs in that were pretty dark and heavy, and I actually really liked that because they were bangers. So yeah, I definitely like Geometry Dash. I wouldn't say I really explored many other songs from the artists that made the Geometry Dash songs, but it seems like a lot of people have. And then you said Bass Nectar. I never really got into Bass Nectar. I'm not too familiar with that. I'm sure there's tons of great artists there. But like you said, there are hundreds of genres in this one style of music. That's kind of what pulls me to EDM too, because people who don't know just listen to like one or two electronic songs, probably dubstep, especially mainstream back in the day, and they're like, oh, this sounds like alien music. This is way too weird for me, so I'm not going to explore any other genres in this overarching EDM genre. I'm just going to give up and stereotype everything in it. But there's a lot more to discover if you're willing to dive in, which I like. And then you said your favorite artists. I mean, Sharks, great. Virtual Riot, amazing. Skrillex, iconic. Infect, I would say polarizing for those who don't like him, like me. But I know a lot of people like him. And then Joab, I'm actually not familiar with Joab, so maybe you can leave a comment on who that is, what music they've made. Okay, next comment here by Coloring Snake. Rocket League, Roblox, Forza Horizon, all those like it led me to eventually make hard EDM my most listened to genre overall. I had early exposure to artists like Grant, Tokyo Machine, Nitro Fun, Virtual Riot, The Fat Rat, and Pegboard Nerds. Today I generally listen to VR, Chime, Toki, AU5, and Mega Nico, mainly for that video game sound that had me hooked at such a young age. Haha, bass go wub wub. Yes. That looks like a stacked lineup of artists that were your early exposure. I mean, Grant, obviously one of my favorites. Tokyo Machine. You know what's funny for me is when I first got into Monster Cat, mainly due to Rocket League, I listened to a lot of Tokyo Machine outside the game. That was like my main artist for, I want to say like the summer of 2019. I pretty much just listened to Tokyo Machine. Kind of got tired of his style, but like for there, I was a number one fanboy. Nitro Fun, also pretty great, pretty classic songs there. Virtual Riot, I love Virtual Riot. Fat Rat, I also was into Fat Rat quite a bit at the beginning, but I haven't really listened to his stuff in quite some time. And then Pegboard Nerds, obviously huge. But yeah. The next comment here by Husky. I got into EDM through Skrillex. Wow, shocker, am I right? But I think I originally found him through a guy named Drew Molino who did these chatroulette music trolling kind of things. I heard this weird-ass music and my 11-year-old self was like, sick. Then I found Monster Cat in 2012, literally days after Explode by Drop Tech was released. I've always preferred electronic music because of how truly diverse it is. So many different ideas from main stage stuff to underground unknown shit. As my music taste has evolved outside of just dubstep, hearing influences across genres outside of EDM is always so cool. I've gotten such an appreciation for production and creating music with little details. As far as my favorite artists, off the top of my head, Grizz, Porter Robinson, Tipper, Solaro, Ganja White Knight, and I don't know, probably Ahi, just purely off the fact I respect him so much as a producer. As a slight extra, some projects I like. From Grizz, the entire Chasing the Golden Hour series, Rainbow Brain, Gemini EP, Rider Waves, Tipper, Forward Escape, Ganja White Knight, Dark Wobble, Sprouted, and Hybrid Distillery. Nice, nice. So, yeah, you said you discovered through Skrillex. I would say, myself included, a lot of people who grew up in the 2000s, 2010s probably got introduced to EDM through Skrillex. I know I did because my brother showed me Skrillex, so that's pretty cool. The fact that you found Monster Cat back in 2012, I mean, you're truly an OG. I didn't discover it till 2019. And yeah, you said electronic music, you like it because of how truly diverse it is. I kind of just went over this a couple comments ago. Totally agree. As far as your favorite artist goes, Grizz, I knew that would be Grizz because you were the person who introduced me to Grizz, so thank you so much for that. I got some cousins down in Florida that also love Grizz, so yeah, we're all big Grizz fans over here. And I like the projects you mentioned. I've listened to Chasing the Golden Hour series, Rainbow Brain, of course, Gemini EP, that was pretty decent. Ride Waves was also pretty good. His discography is huge. I don't know if I'd ever rank it or anything like that, but definitely listen to a good portion of it. Yeah, Porter Robinson, obviously I love Porter. Tipper, not familiar. Sularo, know a couple songs, I think. Ganja White Night. I only know them from a few of their collabs with Grizz, but yeah, I might have to dive into that. So yeah, thank you for the comment. To the next comment here by True Young. What started my love for EDM was definitely Geometry Dash. We got another one around 2015. Rocket League is what got me into Monster Cat. Hey, same. And the type of music I mainly listen to. 2019, nice. This is what solidified my love for EDM, I'd say. Rankers definitely made me find out more about EDM music, either old Monster Cat songs or other labels. Hey, I learned about Disciple around early 2022 from Rankers ranking Disciple songs. And while I definitely don't listen to that label on the regular, I don't mind some of the music on there. It is interesting to think that without those games and the rankers in this community, I may never have liked EDM as much as I do now. Something I find very cool is the change of Boss Fight's music during this time. Boss Fight used to be a group, went from chiptune Geometry Dash music to where Boss Fight is now, making music on Monster Cat. Boss Fight is one of my favorite artists. It's really cool to see that journey. Thank you for reading. Sorry this is so long, LOL. Oh, no problem, man. A lot of these comments are long. Yeah, a lot to dive into here. Obviously, another Geometry Dash discoverer of EDM. That's cool. Rocket League got you into Monster Cat. Same here, around the same time as well, in 2019. Rankers definitely helped you find out about EDM music. That's really cool to think about. I mean, because me personally, I don't even think about that too often. I really just like covering the music and giving my opinions on songs. So I never really think like, oh, I'm actually helping other people who watch my videos discover more music. I mean, I kind of think about that with like submissions, and then I made one recommendations video and, you know, just covering a bunch of different albums. So yeah, I guess I'm giving more exposure to some artists that maybe some people don't know about, which is really cool, even though, you know, I'm not a big YouTuber by any means, but that is really cool. Yeah, the evolution of Boss Fight's music over time is pretty awesome. Just to think how like an artist can reinvent themselves over time, starting from chiptune music to all the heavy dubstep, bass house, all that stuff he makes these days, which is really cool. And I personally, I think I prefer the modern Boss Fight to the early Boss Fight, but they're both pretty good. Okay, moving on to the next comment here by J. Ford Deaza. Number one, what got me into EDM was S. Sunday's intro song, Such Fun by Tobu when I was 10. I'm 17 now. I prefer it over other genres because it has many subgenres that people can enjoy and it helps me have fun while playing video games. My favorite EDM artists are Avicii, Bishu, Sad Boys, Tristan, and Tobu. And then non-EDM are Juice WRLD, Post Malone, Morgan Wallen, Tate McRae, Teflon Sega, and J District. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, sorry. But yeah, number one, it's cool how you remember exactly which song got you into EDM. That just makes it that much bigger of an impact. I know I recently had a video about like my top 25 most influential songs. So, and I remember my number one song was like Kill Everybody by Skrillex. I think that was the first song my brother showed me by Skrillex. So that's cool that you can latch onto the very first song you heard. That got you into it at least. Number two, I prefer it over most genres because it has many subgenres. Yeah, this is probably the third time I've brought it up in this video, but that's kind of why EDM is so great. It has pretty much something for everybody because of all the different subgenres it has. You also have fun while playing video games and listening to it. See, me personally, I play a lot of video games, but I don't really listen to music while I'm playing. I guess it's just because I like to lock in and really focus on what I'm doing. But, I mean, there's a reason you can enable the playlist in Rocket League when you're actually playing in a game. Even though I don't do it, my friend does it. I know a lot of other people do it, so yeah. And then your favorite EDM artist, Avicii, classic legend, rest in peace. Bishu, pretty awesome. He's got a great social media as well. He's one of those modern artists that can blend the personality on social media with his music. Sad Boys, I think I've heard a few of their songs, not too familiar though. Tristan, of course, classic. And Tobu, also NCS classic. So very good picks. Next comment here by Kim Yona Project. I started listening to EDM as a little kid at like 4 or 5. One cousin loved Skrillex and another cousin loved OSU, the video game. My first 3 EDM genres were bro step, happy hardcore, and melodic speedcore. And then I kind of stopped listening to EDM a bit when I was like 10 and I got into it again. And when I was 12, I really got into it. Now I'm a big music nerd in general. Mainly underground EDM, getting into K-pop, country, jazz, math rock, and Japanese rock too. But EDM, especially more experimental stuff, is my favorite alongside K-pop at the moment. Wow. First of all, discovering, or I guess starting to listen to EDM when you were like 4 or 5 is crazy, especially the fact that you can remember it. Like the earliest memories I have of listening to music in general was probably when I was like 6, and that was pretty much all country because that's what my parents listened to at the time. So I was a big country boy growing up for a few years there. And yeah, once again, another Skrillex mention. Like I said, he probably got a lot of us into EDM. And then OSU, I'm not entirely sure what video game that is. You can explain if you want. And then the fact that you remember your first 3 EDM genres being bro step, happy hardcore, and melodic speedcore, that's pretty funny. Especially melodic speedcore, I feel like it's a pretty niche genre. Then you stopped listening, got back into it, and just a big music nerd in general. So that's really cool. I mean, it's a good bridge to really get into music, especially production side of things. If you want to dive deeper into that. I am confused though, like what is math rock? I kind of want to know what that is, so leave a comment down below. By Ursa. I first got into electronic music when my first grade teacher played loud pipes and blew my mind by telling me the whole song was made by just 2 people. I got into EDM proper when I used iHeartRadio, which had a broken recommendation system, so even though I mainly listened to alt rock, I started playing Zedd, Skrillex, and Porter. I liked what I heard and got curious, which led me to the wider world of EDM. What I look for most in music is uniqueness. I like hearing things I've never heard before, so EDM is a good fit for me. Because literally any sound, any rhythm, any melody, or lack thereof is fair game, so there's much more room for innovation. I also like EDM because it's such a broad category and it includes all kinds of things. Any musical quality or aspect you could get from any other genre, you can get from subgenre of EDM. There's so much variety just within the genre. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what to say to this comment. It was very well spoken and kind of explained everything you need to know right there. I will say, though, that iHeartRadio, broken recommendation system, I don't think I've ever really used iHeartRadio other than to listen to some Reds games from time to time. But yeah, the fact that it led you to Zedd, Skrillex, and Porter is hilarious. That's great. And also, I'm kind of surprised that your first grade teacher played the Loud Pipe song. I'm not entirely sure what that song is. I'll have to look it up after this. But yeah, just the fact it's made by 2 people and then that blew your first grade mind, that's hilarious to me as well. Because like the way I'm thinking back in my day in elementary school, you hardly ever really heard of teachers playing music, let alone electronic music in school. So I thought that was a pretty cool fact. Next comment here by Bondu. I listened to a lot of Deadmau 5. Yes, I still say Deadmau 5 because that's what I always thought when I was younger. I know it's Deadmau5, but anyway, when I was young and then Rocket League came in and shaped my taste. I really just can't listen to other genres, as shown by me in 2023 trying to listen to rap and failing. My favorite artists change a lot, but right now it's got to be Future Bounce / House, guys like Retrovision and Dirty Palm to name the mainstream ones. That's cool you listen to a lot of Deadmau5 growing up. Yeah, me personally, I didn't really listen to much Deadmau5 growing up. I think there's only a couple songs I really listened to back then, and I think one of them was Ghost and stuff. But then, yeah, Rocket League coming in and shaping your taste definitely happened to me. I mean, I listened to a lot of like mainstream artists, like heard a few songs by Madeon, Zedd, Knife Party, Skrillex before I discovered Rocket League and Monster Cat. But then that definitely shaped my taste as well. You can't listen to other genres. Yeah, it's funny because for the longest time, like I said, grew up with country. Then I listened to a lot of like alt rock and like yacht rock and classic rock. I was mainly a rock head for a while there, but also some mainstream like pop music as well. Just whatever I heard out there, I would kind of add to my library. But nowadays, like if I go back to those songs, it just kind of bores me just because I'm like so ingrained and used to listening to a bunch of different electronic music with all the varieties and all the innovation and everything that like normal, like socially acceptable music just kind of bores me, doesn't really interest me. So it's a blessing and a curse because if you're trying to hang out with some people and you try to play your playlist, they'll probably give you some weird looks. But yeah, you got to strike that balance somehow. But yeah, that's kind of just the problem us EDM heads deal with these days, I would say. Forgot to mention, yeah, Retrovision, pretty great. He's got some hits. Dirty Palm, not entirely sure who that is, to be honest. Maybe we'll have to do some digging after this as well. Next comment here by the Oof Guy. I started listening to EDM when I was about 2 to 3. I don't remember much about that time other than my dad played a lot of Daft Punk, and that got really attached to electronic music in general when I was about 7 or 8. Some kids showed me Skrillex and Knife Party. I believe the songs they showed me were Bangarang and Bonfire, classics. These songs immediately got me hooked on dubstep. When I was 13, I started expanding my taste with D&B, bass house, and many other genres. That same year, I started playing Rocket League, which got me into Monster Cat. I'm 20 now, and my music taste has stayed mostly the same since then. However, now I prefer more melodic music like future bass and new disco, the world kind, but I still like more heavier music like Boss Fight and Skrillex. I like EDM more than any other genre because of the sheer variety it brings. My current favorite artists are Grant, Boss Fight, Skrillex, World, and Porter Robinson. While I'm seeing a lot of similarities to myself here, I definitely can't relate to first listening to EDM when you were 2 or 3. I mean, the fact that you can even remember back then, that's insane to me if you do remember. But yeah, the fact that some kids showed you Skrillex and Knife Party, that's literally just like my brother showing me Skrillex and Knife Party back in the day. And I was probably like 10 to 11 back then. And then you started playing Rocket League, got you into Monster Cat, same here. But you started playing a lot earlier than me, it looks like. And your music taste has mainly stayed the same. I mean, that's kind of like me. And you say you prefer more melodic music like future bass and new disco. I feel like that's mainly been me ever since I discovered Rocket League and Monster Cat. Always preferred the melodic side, but you also like the heavier side. I also do too. It just depends. It's really just a hit or miss, just what I'm feeling that day, how I'm feeling about the music. And then your favorite artists, Grant, Boss Fight, Skrillex, World, and Porter Robinson. I love all those artists too. So is this me on an alternate account, guys? I mean, who is this guy? But yeah, that's pretty cool. By Ethan Show. I first got into EDM when I was in elementary school, listening to Game Chops remixes of all things. Eventually I branched out into my first 2 real favorite artists at the time being Tokyo Machine and Hyper Potions. A few years later, I say few, but it was like 6 years, I actually found your channel and started listening to Monster Cat more frequently. I'd say around August of 2023. Wow, so you were back in elementary school when you first got into EDM? You know, I didn't even think about this, but when I was 10 or 11, I guess I would have been in elementary school too, so that's pretty funny. And then the fact that you found my channel all the way in 2023 and that helped you start listening to Monster Cat more frequently, that's pretty awesome. Like I said earlier, I don't really think about that too often, you know, new people finding my channel and then discovering more music through my channel. So that's pretty awesome, man. Thanks. Comment by Brain Defect. I got into NCS and subsequently EDM the classic way by hearing their music used in a YouTube video and checking the description. Prior to that, however, I already really enjoyed more electronic songs on the radio. I remember some of my favorites being Runaway by Galantis and 10 Feet Tall by Afrojack. Full transparency, not entirely sure what those 2 songs are. I bet you I've heard them here or there at points, but I'm not entirely familiar. Have to check it out. But yeah, that is a classic way to discover EDM, is just the YouTube meta back in the day, having some electronic banging music as your intro, your outro. So that definitely helped grab a lot of people's attentions. Check the description video. Then you go down the rabbit hole of maybe NCS or Monster Cat or other labels and stuff like that. So that's a pretty cool way to find it. I remember hearing songs like that, but that didn't really get me to explore it, not until Rocket League, like I said. But yeah, cool story. And the final 2 comments here. First one by Messicality. I got into EDM because of Geometry Dash. Another one, I discovered GD in 2nd grade and I played it a lot up until freshman year of high school. Wow, that's a long stretch. Nowadays I don't play it much. As for Monster Cat, one of my friends showed me Barracuda, Final Boss, and Self-Destruct, and I fell in love with those 3 songs. Eventually discovering more. I consider those songs the Monster Cat trifecta for me. I like EDM more than other genres because of the variety in genres within the scene. It keeps me coming back to discover new songs and artists I may like. My favorite artists right now are Chime, Keizo, Nejvex, and Staria, but I also love alternative metal bands like Sleep Token. Quite the variety there. Of course, I'm familiar with Chime and Keizo, not truly familiar with the other 2. This has been reiterated in this video quite a few times. Just the sheer variety of EDM keeps people coming back. You get to discover new genres, new songs, new artists. And it never really gets old, it seems, because I feel like I don't know if I'll ever grow out of this EDM phase, because a lot of people say, oh, you know, you'll grow out of it. You'll listen to real music one day. Who knows? Maybe I will. But for now, I'm definitely an EDM head, and I don't see it wearing down anytime soon. But yeah, having the Monster Cat trifecta for you, being Barracuda, Final Boss, and Self-Destruct, that was in probably the golden era, I would say. The trifecta for me, obviously by design, that being my profile pic still to this day. I Am You by Haywire probably, and then Castaway by Grant. Those are probably my trifecta. Okay, final comment here by Godly Sheba. I started listening to EDM from listening to a lot of old 2013 to 15 gaming intros such as popular MMOs with Spaghetti, Pink Coex, and Agario trap music montages. Oh my gosh, I forgot about Agario. In 2015, and when my favorite song on the radio would play when I was about 10, Animals classic. I really started getting into EDM around 2020 from a friend who introduced me to the Fat Rat, who I hadn't known the name of for many years, but we all knew his music for several years. He also introduced me to dubstep producers like Dex Arson, and I correlated that type of music with popular MMO's intro, which also happened to be dubstep. And right after that, I went into a deep dive and found hundreds, if not thousands, of songs that I hadn't heard of in years, and that nostalgia factor made me appreciate the broad EDM genre the most. I found my favorite artist Boss Fight via Dex Arson with Boss Fight's remix of Bipolar, which to today is still my favorite song ever. Then I figured out Boss Fight had chiptune, which goes back to when I first started playing Speedrun 4 on Roblox, and that's when the nostalgia hit me the most. So honestly, the artist that's influenced my music taste the most is Boss Fight, and the community that influenced my music taste the most has to be old intros and montages on YouTube in the mid-2010s. Okay, a lot to go over in the final comment here. Just kind of went over the gaming intros aspect of discovering EDM in the last comment, so won't go over that here, but the fact that you mentioned Martin Garrix's Animals was a key song, that always reminds me back to freshman year in science class. My ringtone at the time was that song, and it happened to go off in the middle of a test. So that was super embarrassing, core memory for me. And I've literally kept my phone on silent mode since that day. I've never had my phone blasting the ringtone just because that was so embarrassing. And then going over the whole nostalgia factor, specifically Boss Fight, it's always cool when you have a favorite artist, what they're making now, and then you go back, listen to their discography, discover all the old stuff they used to make. And in this case, it was much different than the new stuff they make. That's always a key factor. And that's really fun about EDM artists, especially. And I'm thinking of Porter Robinson in particular, because just imagine you're a new Porter fan, you hear Smile, you go back, you discover Worlds, that sounds completely different than Smile, then you discover Nurture, which sounds completely different from both of them. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say about this comment, and that's the final comment of this video. So yeah, thank you for all the comments you guys gave me. I think what we learned today, which we already probably knew, is that EDM is such a broad genre with so many different subgenres, so many different artists, so many different variations, innovations, that there's pretty much something for everybody in it. Yeah, it's just fun to talk about it, in a discussions video format. So yeah, I got really nothing else to say. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.